the Saffron and the Tao. In the northern lands of the Heavenly Mandate dynasty, during the mid-period of Emperor Chanchi's reign, the emperor's iron cavalry had unified the north and the entire realm. Everything was renewed, both inside and outside the Great Wall. This land, once ravaged by war, was gradually recovering under the emperor's grand vision. At this time, Buddhism also entered its golden age in the north. From the desolate frontiers to the central plains, magnificent temples rose from the ground. Their upturned eaves and decorative brackets soared into the clouds, and golden Buddha statues glittered in the morning light. In the morning, the bells of the Sangharama temple echoed like a tide from the valley, flowing over the fields and into the depths of the city. It was the sound of faith and a symbol of peace. In the Sangharama temple, a young monk, Master Hongfa, practiced his faith daily to the rhythm of the morning and evening bells. He was exceptionally intelligent, with eyes so clear they seemed to reflect the finest dust of the world. He deeply believed that Buddhism could save all sentient beings, but deep down, he also vaguely sensed a sinister undercurrent beneath this blinding Buddhist light. He saw the temple walls growing higher and higher, the fertile fields stretching endlessly, and believers devoutly offering gold and silver. The ranks of monks were also growing, and not all of them were sincere. They wore the robes of a monk, but their hearts yearned for the material world. One evening, Master Hongfa was organizing scrolls in the temple's scripture repository when he overheard a few old monks whispering. Their faces were weathered by time, and they were filled with worry for the future. Old monk A. Alas, the temple is now bustling, and incense is burning brightly. But is all of this truly destiny? I'm afraid this excessive incense will burn away the true heart of Buddhism. Old monk B. At the feet of the emperor, nobles and celebrities flock to the temple. Wealth pours in like water, and the number of monks increases daily. But how many of them truly came to seek the truth of Buddhism? No taxes, no military service. If this continues, the very foundation of the nation may be shaken. The emperor, I'm afraid, has long had his doubts. Master Hongfa's heart trembled, and the scripture scroll in his hand almost slipped. He knew these words were not baseless. The excessive expansion of the temples had already touched the sensitive nerves of the imperial power. In the eyes of Emperor Chanchi, this immense wealth and population, which existed outside the national system, were becoming huge leaks and stumbling blocks on his path to absolute centralization. Master Hongfa saw the emperor's inner self, his obsession with absolute control, and his vigilance against any power that could threaten his authority. In his eyes, Buddhism was no longer a tool to appease the people but a potential threat. Just as Emperor Chanchi became suspicious, another force was secretly gathering momentum. A Daoist master, Daoist Xuanji, walked into the imperial city like a ghost and into the emperor's view. Daoist Xuanji came from a noble family but was obsessed with Taoist arts. He reorganized the previously loose Taoist doctrines, making them more organized and exclusive. He was skilled in understanding the imperial mind and knew that Emperor Chanchi yearned for immortality and a secure empire for all eternity. Daoist Xuanji seized the opportunity to have an audience with Emperor Chanchi, confidently claiming that he had been personally instructed by the great sage Laozi. He proclaimed that the emperor was the true lord who responds to heaven, and that his reign was a destiny decreed by the heavens. Daoist Xuanji. Your Majesty, heaven and earth have their proper ways, and humanity has its true faith. Our Chinese civilization inherits the wisdom of the Yellow Emperor and Laozi. Its principles of following the way of nature are the true foundation of the nation. But Buddhism is a foreign faith from the Western regions that beguiles the people and consumes national resources. It is a poison that harms the nation and the people. This humble Daoist has observed the heavenly omens. The Buddhist aura has reached its peak and is now in decline, while the Taoist destiny is rising. If your Majesty can follow the way of heaven and promote Taoism, you will gain an eternal empire and immortality. Emperor Chanchi was thrilled. He already had a preference for Taoism and was eager to learn the art of immortality. The talismans and elixirs that Daoist Xuanji showed him made the emperor even more convinced. He began to believe that only Taoism could provide eternal protection for the Heavenly Mandate dynasty. Within the imperial family, the fates of the two princes were very different. Prince Jingming, the crown prince, was Emperor Chanchi's most valued heir. He was skilled in political maneuvering and meticulous in his thoughts. He secretly formed an alliance with Daoist Xuanji, intending to use the power of Taoism to consolidate his own position and eliminate dissenters. On the other hand, Prince Yu, the youngest son of Emperor Tianqi, was gentle and did not like political intrigue. He was tired of the palace's deceit and felt suffocated by its hypocrisy. Deep in the green bamboo mountains south of the imperial city of Luoyang, there was a hidden Daoist temple called Purity Temple. It was a place untouched by the mortal world, where only the breeze rustled through the bamboo forest and the bright moon reflected on the lake. In the temple lived a young Daoist priest named Claywind, in his early 20s. He had a refined face and serene eyes, untouched by the dust of the world. His simple robe highlighted his tall, slender figure, making him seem like a flowing stream in the mountains or a quiet shadow among the pines. The Taoist arts he practiced focused more on inner cultivation, far from worldly power. During a secret outing, Prince Yu, tired of the palace's troubles, stumbled upon the Purity Temple. Attracted by its serene tranquility, he decided to stay there to cultivate his spirit and find a moment of inner peace. When he first arrived at the Purity Temple, Prince Yu was just a melancholy young man, full of worries. Claywind guided him daily, teaching him breathing exercises and explaining the Tao Te Ching. His voice was like a gentle breeze over a zither, cleansing the dust from the depths of Prince Yu's heart. In the quiet bamboo forest, they often sat side by side, listening to the wind and watching the clouds roll by. Prince Yu. Claywind, all the splendor inside those palace walls isn't as real as a single blade of grass or a tree here in the mountains. I always feel, everything there is like a passing shadow that can't be held. Claywind looked at the distant mountains with clear eyes and responded calmly. Your Highness, a passing shadow is also real. Everything has its time. If your heart is clear, even being in a bustling city is a form of spiritual cultivation. Why be so attached to external things? All the appearances in this world are born from the heart. Every word he said was like a drop of clay dew, nourishing Prince Yu's dry heart. Prince Yu saw that Claywind's heart was like a clear spring, without any impurities, only reverence for nature and a pursuit of the true essence of Taoism. This purity was something he had never seen in the imperial palace. The moonlight was like water, showering the bamboo forest. Prince Yu was contemplating by the stream behind the temple when he heard a melodious flute sound. It was Claywind playing. The flute's melody was mournful yet melodious, like a mountain spring, carrying a sense of independent solitude and nobleness. Prince Yu followed the sound and saw Claywind sitting in the moonlight, his fingers gently caressing a jade flute. His profile was as translucent as jade in the moonlight, as if he could fly away with the wind at any moment. Prince Yu's voice was soft, as if he was afraid of disturbing the beautiful scene. Claywind, why does your flute music bring such peace to my heart? Claywind stopped playing, turned to look at him, a flash of surprise in his eyes, which then returned to a state of calm. Claywind smiled faintly. The Tao follows nature, and so does the flute's music. If your Highness's heart is at peace, the music naturally brings peace. Prince Yu walked over and sat down beside him. The night breeze was cool, carrying the fresh scent of bamboo leaves. He looked at Claywind. His eyes seemed to hold the light of stars, and he felt an unprecedented tranquility and attraction. He saw a deep compassion for all things and a love for the true essence of life deep within Claywind's heart. Prince Yu. Claywind, I have never met anyone like you. The people in the palace are either beautiful or docile, but no one has your kind of detachment. Claywind listened quietly, without responding. His fingers gently caressed the jade flute, as if he was thinking. Claywind. Your Highness, the mortal world is vast, and Taoism has 1,000 ways. There is no true detachment in the world, it only depends on where the heart is. Prince Yu reached out, his fingertip hesitating for a moment in the air, and then gently, with a hint of restraint and deep affection, touched Claywind's fingertip. His fingertip was as cool as jade, yet it carried a faint warmth, like a current that instantly traveled through his entire body. He felt a slight tremor in Claywind's body and the subtle response deep in his heart to this touch. Claywind was not emotionless. He was like a snow lotus on a high mountain. Although he seemed cool, he also had a soft side. There was a hint of longing for this forbidden love in his heart, but there was also a stronger commitment to Taoism and a resistance to worldly troubles. Prince Yu. Claywind, would you be willing to cultivate with me in this world? Whether in the high court or the remote mountains, as long as I have you. I feel at peace. Claywind did not pull his hand back. His gaze met Prince Yu's. His eyes held a hint of hesitation, a hint of helplessness, but also a hint of an ineffable tenderness. The corner of his lips curved into a faint smile, so light it was like the breeze blowing through the bamboo leaves. Clearwind. Your Highness, you and I are both of the mortal world and have our own destiny. The beginning and end of all relationships are predetermined. He did not directly answer but did not refuse either. That subtle ambiguity, like a thin mist, filled the bamboo forest under the moonlight. Prince Yu knew he couldn't ask for more, but this tacitly approved closeness was enough to make his heart ripple. Their love, like the bamboo forest outside the Purity Temple, grew in secret, untouched by the dust of the world, but it left an unforgettable mark deep in their hearts. Late at night, only the sounds of insects and wind remained in the Purity Temple. Prince Yu tossed and turned in bed. Clearwind's serene gaze and the touch of his fingertips spread like a wildfire in his heart. He could not suppress the longing that surged from within and quietly went to Clearwind's meditation room. Pushing open the half-closed wooden door, moonlight poured in, casting light on Clearwind's slender figure. He was sitting cross-legged, seemingly in a state of meditation, with an elegant Daoist aura surrounding him. Prince Yu slowly walked towards him, each step a mix of struggle and surrender. He knew how presumptuous his actions were, but he was like a person possessed, unable to stop himself. He knelt beside Clearwind, his hot breath brushing against his neck, carrying an indescribable lust. Clearwind's body stiffened slightly, and his eyelashes fluttered, but he did not open his eyes. Prince Yu reached out, his fingers trembling, and gently touched the side of Clearwind's robe. Beneath the fabric was Clearwind's slender yet strong waist. Prince Yu's voice was low and hoarse, almost a plea. Clearwind? I love you, not just for the sake of peace. Of all things in this world, only you make my heart pound and my blood race. I long for your skin, your breath. I long for everything about you. He felt his body was extremely tense and hot, and the primal urge almost consumed him completely. He saw the deepest instinct of a man deep in Clearwind's heart being awakened, like a current surging beneath a frozen lake. Under his robe, Clearwind's body trembled slightly from the closeness, and his waist unconsciously leaned forward, as if responding to that silent call. Prince Yu no longer suppressed his urges. He leaned down, and his lips gently pressed onto the skin of Clearwind's neck. The skin was as cool as jade, but a fire ignited under his lips. He felt Clearwind's faint breathing become heavy, and his nose was filled with the unique, crisp herbal scent of his body, mixed with sweat, creating an ultimate temptation. His palm gently and firmly stroked Clearwind's waist, following the graceful line upwards until it reached his broad back. Clearwind finally opened his eyes. His deep eyes, like a still pond, reflected the naked desire in Prince Yu's eyes. He slightly raised his hand, his fingertips gently touching Prince Yu's cheek, as if to confirm this reality. Clearwind, with a slight, almost imperceptible gasp, like a whispering sigh. Your Highness. Purity, and the original heart. His words completely melted in Prince Yu's passionate and hot kiss. Prince Yu's lips, with the coolness of the mountains and the heat of longing, pressed heavily onto Clearwind's lips. It was no longer a test but a storm-like conquest and taking, with the thrill of the forbidden and the pleasure of surrender. Prince Yu's tongue went in and wrapped around his, sucking and devouring him, as if to melt Clearwind. Clearwind's body was initially tense, his fingertips trembling, but he quickly surrendered to the hot kiss and intense aggression. He unconsciously wrapped his arms around Prince Yu's neck, feeling his strong chest and hot skin. The moonlight, filtered through the bamboo leaves, cast dappled light on their tightly entwined bodies, giving this passionate embrace a sacred yet bewitching halo. Their robes were wrinkled on the ground, revealing their slender waists and taut muscles. The bamboo leaves rustled, as if they were whispering, or silently bearing witness to this ultimate, primal impulse. Their love, at this moment, transcended worldly ethics and the boundaries of faith, becoming the most primitive, most moving, and most dangerous secret in the valley. They were two lonely souls in a chaotic world, meeting at the edge of faith, using love and companionship to fight against the cruelty and turmoil of the outside world. Their existence was a hidden and beautiful highlight in the midst of the anti-Buddhist movement, symbolizing a pure spiritual pursuit, untouched by the mortal world. Meanwhile, in his later years, Emperor Tianqi also began to show signs of his karma. Because he had been taking the so-called elixirs refined by Daoist Xuanji for years, his health deteriorated, and his temper became more irritable and suspicious. He even personally killed his once beloved crown prince Jingming, due to suspicion. Daoist Xuanji also met a bad end. He was executed for failing to refine a batch of elixirs. This dramatic ending made Master Hongfa sigh in the shadows. He knew that all things in the world have karma, and power and obsession would ultimately backfire on their master. And that karma would eventually fall on everyone's head. In the 34th year of Emperor Qianqi's reign, the emperor passed away. The newly enthroned Emperor Qingguang ascended the throne. Unlike his suspicious and paranoid father, Emperor Qingguang was also concerned with the stability of the empire, but his methods were more subtle. After taking power, he first began to re-evaluate the court, especially the growing Daoist influence. Although Daoist Xuanji was dead, his followers were everywhere in the court and among the people. His doctrines, leveraging the previous anti-Buddhist movement, had infiltrated ordinary households and even influenced the imperial family. Emperor Qingguang saw the self-righteous Daoist priests in the court. They spoke of Daoist Xuanji and followed his old ways. Their power was so great that it was beginning to show signs of holding the emperor hostage. What made him even more wary was his younger brother, Prince Yu. Prince Yu was gentle by nature and did not like political maneuvering. He had gone into seclusion in the mountains during the anti-Buddhist movement and lived with the Daoist priest Claywind. Emperor Qingguang saw the deep attachment Prince Yu had for Claywind and his immersion in the Taoist philosophy of inaction. He worried that in this purity, there was a complete rejection of worldly power, and even a disregard for his responsibilities as a prince. A prince who was completely led astray by Taoist thought and who stayed away from the worldly troubles might be pure, but it also meant he could not be controlled and could even be used by ambitious people to become another hidden danger that threatened the balance. The imperial mindset was never a simple matter of good and evil. Emperor Qingguang knew that if a forest had only one kind of tree, it would inevitably be infested with pests. If only Taoism dominated the court, it would soon repeat the mistakes of the previous reign, giving rise to new corruption and arrogance. He needed a force that could counterbalance it. Thus, after repeated discussions with his trusted officials, Emperor Qingguang issued an edict to restore Buddhism. He was not a devout Buddhist, and this action was more like a carefully planned chess move. When the edict spread to the people, the Buddhist light, which had been dormant for many years, was finally allowed to be lit again. The people who had secretly held on to their faith once again rekindled their hope. Master Hongfa's heart was filled with emotion. He walked out of the shadows, with the few scrolls he had guarded through hardships and with a deeper understanding of Buddhism. He understood the deep meaning behind the emperor's actions. It was not a pure return to faith but a product of political balance. However, for him, this was a heaven-sent opportunity for the revival of Buddhism. He no longer built magnificent temples but chose to build simple thatched huts among the people. He promoted Buddhism in a more down-to-earth and practical way, teaching Buddhist principles to the people, answering their questions, and showing them how to cultivate their hearts and minds and how to face hardship. His disciples were no longer the vulgar people who only sought fame and fortune but were poor monks who were truly devoted to Buddhism. He knew that if Buddhism became extravagant again, it would repeat its past mistakes. His experience made him understand that the blind expansion of temples and their dependence on worldly power were the root causes of the anti-Buddhist tragedy. This time, the revival of Buddhism no longer blindly pursued external grandeur but focused more on inner cultivation and integration with society. Master Hongfa's figure, in the northern lands after the war had settled, was like a weak but resilient candle flame, once again illuminating people's hearts and guiding Buddhism on a new path. As for Prince Yu and Claywind, after the worldly noise subsided, they chose to continue living in seclusion in the green bamboo mountains. Prince Yu completely gave up his royal status and stayed with Claywind, living a life of peace, rising at dawn to tend to the fields and returning at dusk with his hoe. Emperor Qingguang had sent people to secretly visit and found that although Prince Yu's mind was at peace, he had no attachment to power. His detached state of mind made Emperor Qingguang put his worries to rest. After all, a prince who had no desire to fight for power was much safer than a hidden threat with ambition. Their love was no longer a forbidden thing but became a legend passed down in the mountains. The prince gave up power for love, and the Daoist priest cultivated his spirit with him. Their existence was a hidden and beautiful highlight in the midst of the anti-Buddhist movement, symbolizing a pure spiritual pursuit, untouched by the mortal world, and becoming an eternal and beautiful song in a chaotic time.